Hello and welcome to another different kind of Stories the True and the Fictional spin-off, should I say? This one where it's more about comics. We've decided to call it, for obvious reasons, or not so obvious reasons, the the Middle Ages Comic Hour.
Get it? Because we're middle and we're aged.
Or no, I was going to go for we underread comic books from the middle-aged era, like the Middle Ages, that sort of thing. But I'll give you a heads up. We may not actually go for an hour. I'm just going to say it will be done within an hour. We don't know. It could be 2 hours. We don't know. It could go any different way at all. But this is going to be completely comic book focused. We may do comic book movies. We may do I don't know, comic book related video games. We could do anything, but it's going to be comic related. But the thing that you know what, Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I won't do all the talking by myself. Yeah, but me and Ryan came up with this idea to, like almost review and talk about, some of our favorite comics. Obviously, we're going to start with something Ninja Turtle based because it's all about me, right? No, it's more so. It's fresh in my mind. I met Kevin Eastman a couple of weeks ago, and you stand in line for hours waiting to meet the guy with Ninja Turtle fans, and it kind of rekindles that spark of getting back into comics and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely.
So yes, we're going to talk about. We're going to go through the first issue of The Last Ronin, one of my probably, if not my favorite Ninja Turtle comic book arcs. But before we dive into that, we want to, if this is your first time jumping onto the podcast, you probably haven't realized that me and Ryan are very nerdy. We love all things comic books and video games and all stuff like that. Definitely worth going back, because I think the very first episode of Stories the True and the Fictional were about real life comic book heroes.
It was, yeah, I do remember. That was such a long time ago, but yes, I do recall Captain Australia or something like that. We were talking about for a little bit.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So, look, comic book focus. So we want to tell you guys all about how we got into comics and that sort of thing. So, Ryan, you were probably heavily in comics way before I was. So just tell us, do you remember the very first comic book you picked up, or the first comic book that you got into?
Yeah, when I got into comics when I was in, I'm going to say year 7. So a very long time ago. Now that I'm 41, I think I was about 11 or 12 back then. So about 40. Wow, 40 years ago. No, it's 30 years ago. 30 years ago.
Yeah. So it would have been like 95, 96 or something.
Yeah, around then. Yeah. So, first comic book I ever read, was actually the Fantastic Four. It was just a single issue. It was one that I think someone at my school gave to me or something. And basically from there, I just went all in. Spider-Man was a big one. Yeah, so basically, Spider-Man would come out every fortnight or every month, and I'd go down to the local newsagents. This is back when the newsagents were the only times you could get comics. There was no real comic shops around anywhere close to any of us, I think, back in those days. But luckily, the local newsagents down here in Quakers Hill used to get quite a good selection. And as I dove into comics, I would learn what days they would come in, and he would generally keep them aside, let me go through them first, and buy what I wanted, and then he would put the rest out. So, yeah, a lot of pocket money was spent.
That's awesome.
And then when I started working, I worked at the Coles shopping centre right next to the newsagent. So I would, work, and then, before or after work, I'd go in and spend a bit of my money. And it just kind of took off from there. I had a massive, in-person comic, I don't know what you call it, like physical comic collection. And then I moved over to digital because I just ran out of room. And, I even back when I was living at home with my parents, I had boxes and boxes in the roof filled with comics, and digital just made life easier when they started coming out. And obviously, when the prices are like when you used to buy them. I used to buy them for $2.50 each, and now they're
Yeah.
like $7 to $8 an issue.
Yeah.
So obviously, when pricing came in, digital became the way to go because you could get them on the high seas, and then I could just pick and choose. I would wait for hardcovers or
Yeah.
paperbacks to come out and buy it that way. So I
Yeah.
still do have my physical collection, but then it wasn't so much about taking a risk and going, oh, this is a new comic. I'm
Yeah.
going to spend $8 on the first issue, and then I might hate it.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's a fair
and
point.
now, yeah, and it's good now that like the world we live in now. Marvel have an app called Marvel Unlimited, and DC have the
Yep.
DC Universe, which is basically Netflix for comics. You
Mm.
pay a monthly fee. You can read everything. They give it to you. They're available on the app, I think, 3 months after they're out in print.
Yep.
And you can read all the way back to things like, Action Comics 1 and Detective Comics 27. You can go all the way back to where it started. It's basically Netflix for comics. So ever since
Yeah.
those apps have come out, I've been a hard subscriber of those. So I do read
Mhm.
quite a bit on there. But yeah, no, it's mainly Spider-Man, and then I got into Superman and Batman. But Spider-Man will always have a place in my heart because that's where I
Mm.
started, and that's really what got me enthralled in the
Yeah.
comic universe.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. For me, I think I didn't read much as a kid. I think I enjoyed more comic. I'd flick kind of back that day, but I was
Yeah.
just more of an outdoors. I wanted to be outside doing stuff, or when it rains, I would play video games. That was me. But like I remember reading the Phantom
Mm.
way back when. I mean that's 1920s or 30s. It's like.
Yeah.
But if you remember, they used to have like a strip in the newspaper. So my folks would buy the newspaper, and then you'd I'm dating myself here. Quick, flip to the comics
Yep.
page, and there's all those little comics in there. And I always loved that because I remember even in primary school, um, I made a Sonic the Hedgehog comic strip or something. Um, I did so many that the teacher they give out people random awards, and my
Mhm.
my award was Mr. Sonic comic strip, because I did it all the time, Um, but I didn't really heavily get into comics, I think, until when the MCU started,
Mhm.
because
Okay.
they're doing all these, um, and in a way, I guess it's like whenever I watch a true story, I want to know everything about the true story, and I Google
Yeah.
it, and I get disappointed because it's not accurate. Um,
Mhm.
but same way, it's like they're making all these movies. I want to see where they're drawing their inspiration from. So I started collecting,
Yeah.
all these different kind of comic books, and um, I think when was it? I think it was when I went to Canberra with the band, and Kang. Shout out to Kang if you remember the Kang band. Um, and we walked into a comic book shop,
Yeah.
and I discovered the IDW TMNT series,
Yeah.
and I got that. And I think that started in 2011, but it was a few years later because I remember just buying all the catching up all the
Yeah.
all the issues one after the other. Um, Yeah, so look, I think I've only really heavily been into comics for about 15 years or so.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, that's not a bad way to start because I reckon the IDW TMNT collection is probably the best adaptation I've seen of the Ninja Turtles in a very long time.
100%.
Um, it's for me, I reread it every couple of years, like every 2 years. I'll go back and reread it, and up
Yeah.
from issues 1 through to about 100.
Mm-hmm.
I will read easily, and all the the little macro series and the
Yep.
the Rise of the Ultramites and stuff like that. Like I
Yep.
will go through and read all of those, but yeah, definitely a good way to start because that's
Mm-hmm.
I never used to like reading properties. Like IDW have always been with them and Dark Horse, they've always been the ones that have kind of adapted TV shows, movies,
Yeah.
and stuff like that across to obviously Dark Horse has Hellboy, which was a big draw in for them. But they
Hmm.
also did, stuff like Aliens, Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yeah.
a lot of things like that. And then IDW would have the GI Joe, the Transformers,
Mm,
the Ghostbusters, and then obviously the Ninja Turtles.
yeah.
And I was never a fan of the adaptations that you would get. I'm like, oh, this is gonna just it's gonna ruin everything and all that. And
Yeah.
and then I think I jumped onto IDW because I actually started reading some of the Transformers stuff, which is actually really good. It's a lot better than anything I've seen in a long time. And then I saw they were doing Ninja Turtles, and I thought, oh, okay, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'll jump on and have a look at that. And then once I started reading that and the way that they bring the turtles into the world is a different sort. It was something that I had never heard of before because we're used to the movies and the TV shows, and
Yeah.
they never explored how the TMNT IDW series explained how the turtles happened and all that kind of thing,
Mm,
and I that really interests me. So and then I was on board, and then you were reading it, and
mm,
when we started hanging out, I was like, okay, and then I got a hell of a lot more into it. Um, yeah, and then they bring out. I think IDW doing a great work with the Ninja Turtles label. They're keeping way of keeping it alive
hmm.
for diehard fans.
Yep. 100%. And on that topic of Ninja Turtles, we're gonna dive into the first issue of Last Ronin, which I can't even remember how I got wind of this. I think you may have even told me that it was coming,
Yeah,
and I was just like,
I heard about it.
what?
Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about it, and when it was announced that it was the original team, that it was
Yeah.
Lard and Eastman or Laird.
Yeah.
Is it Laird or
I think
Lard?
it's
However,
Laird. I think it's Laird.
Laird. Okay, Laird.
Lard
It's
sounds more like an insult,
yeah,
you know?
no. Um, and when they announced that it was the original creators, I thought, oh, okay. And I think I did mention it to you, and then I think you picked it up before I did.
Right.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have not finished it yet because of the delays.
Yeah.
I don't like it because what you guys will notice, I think we got the first two or the first three relatively, like they said it was going to
Early.
be
Yeah.
bi-monthly, so every 2 months, and they kept up that schedule. But I don't know if it was right around COVID time or whatever that may have been, but then there was a massive delay on four, and then it was like
Yeah.
6 months or 8 months even, and it just slowed down. And my memory is not the greatest as it is, so I
Yeah.
thought I'm going to wait till it's finished. And then you know what? It just life got in the way, and I never actually got
Yeah.
around to finishing it. So I've read the first three issues, so I'm looking forward to this
Yeah.
podcast because then I get to finish it.
Finish it. Yeah. From memory, I think someone actually dropped out on the team. Someone dropped out midway through, so
Oh, okay, fair
that's
enough.
why I think they said there was a delay due to COVID, but also losing it to someone that was been working on it. Um,
Okay.
I think I don't know if they quit or got fired or just said,
Yeah, because it's
uh,
very rare to see, even nowadays, to have those massive delays in
yeah,
in comics, especially when it was doing so well. Like it was IDW's number one selling title for the
mm-hmm,
first three issues when it came out, like every second month. It was you couldn't get a physical copy of it unless you pre-ordered it.
yeah,
And I got my copy of the first one, and that's all I've got. But that was just a basic one, not the expensive one like you. I think mine was a second or third printing, to be honest
yeah,
with you. Um, but yeah, and then I think because I told you the site that I got it from, and I think you ordered the
yeah,
full series through them.
yeah. I remember I ordered it twice, like
Yeah,
because I ordered it and it was just like it was already out. They hadn't sent it yet, and I'm going, I want to read this. So I found another place, so I got two. Yeah, I think they sent me three in one go,
yeah.
and and it's
They
just
tend
like
to do that if you pre-order the whole
yeah,
series, and they know that it's going to be a little while. They'll just build it up.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, I mean that's not something to complain about, seeing as it's
no,
what they're worth at the moment.
yeah, especially
Like
when
it's
we're walking around Supernova in Sydney, and they're like, oh, this is how much we're selling them for. I'm going like, well, mine's signed now by Kevin Eastman, so it's. And
there you go.
I finally found it's probably something I should have looked for if I wasn't in lines all day, but a proper case Like because the
Oh, good.
Last Ronin comic book size,
They're a little bit bigger.
they're a little bit bigger, and I could not
Mm.
find anything to fit them in. And now I have, and it's sitting in my wonderful collectibles case, signed by Kevin
Excellent.
Eastman, and I think I'm going to meet him 4 more times, so then I can get each one signed.
And then you'll have the
um,
complete collection signed.
yeah, 100%. But did you know, Ryan, about this series? Did you know this was actually an idea that they Eastman and Laird had thought up back in the 80s?
I did. I think you told me, yes, that it was something that they sort of thought up a long, long time ago, but just never got around to doing.
Yeah, I think it's where they wanted the Mirage. When they were with
Yeah.
Mirage, that's where they wanted it to go. Because I mean, everyone loves a dystopian future, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
there's definitely not an oversaturation of that in the media at the moment. So
no,
that was sarcasm for the
yeah,
listeners at home. But nothing
uh,
like this, you know what
yeah,
I mean? This is completely. I guess it. I guess that whole dystopian comic thing started with Old Man Logan, by Mark Millar,
yeah. That'd be
that came
interesting to
out.
figure out.
Yeah.
The source of that, but yeah, Old Man Logan was great, and when they brought that to
Yeah.
life, albeit a little bit
And then they
differently.
just kept going. They kept doing Old Man Logan, then they did Old Man Hawkeye, then they did Old Man
Yeah,
Quill. And then
yeah,
it just got a
yeah.
little bit out of control. But the
Yeah.
original Old Man Logan
Oh yeah.
was great. I've got a copy of it,
So do I.
by Mark Millar, who
Yeah,
did Kick Ass and
yeah,
Kingsman and stuff like that. So
yeah,
um, I guess that was, for me personally, that was my first real look in the dystopian future in comic books.
yeah. Cool.
Um, yeah, and then obviously we got that brilliant movie based on, semi based on that comic of
Yeah.
Logan, which was
Well,
phenomenal.
it definitely captured the tone. Um,
Yeah,
Again, I watched, and we may do a whole episode on Logan. But I remember watching Logan and then going and buying Old Man Logan, the comic, and going, wow,
yeah,
the tone was just perfect. Even though there's all this stuff that they probably didn't even have the rights to do, like with Banner,
yep.
and Hulk.
Hmm.
Um, that would have been amazing to see. But again, all these companies fighting for rights of the certain characters, and
Yeah.
it's a little annoying sometimes.
Oh, definitely. But no, to
Yeah.
see the Banner family, and the way that they're ruling the territories and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But also, I mean, I think that would have been, the movie was long enough, not long enough because it was a fantastic movie, but it was a long movie to begin with. I think if they incorporated that kind of thing
Yeah.
into it, it might have ended up being like a two-parter, like Infinity Wars and Endgame and stuff like that. But
Yep.
yeah, look, I think that was my first real introduction to, a dystopian future, jumping forward like, you know,
Yeah.
50 to 100 years and seeing what it's like. So, um, there's not many of those stories in comics, which I'm okay with. There's a lot in
Yeah.
TV and movies, but
Yeah.
and as I said, Last Ronin, I mean, we've never really seen anything about future
No.
turtles and what they're
No.
like down the 20 years down the
Yeah.
track, you know what I mean? So,
They can't be teenagers
yeah.
forever.
No, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember when Michael Bay was doing the movie, and he wanted to call it Ninja Turtles, and
Yeah.
everyone was just like, no, you can't do that. And I was just like, oh, part of me was just like, you know what? I'd be cool with seeing them progressively age. Like
Yeah.
you could do a series where they start as teenagers, but then time goes by and they're gonna, become young adults, and you
Well,
know
that's it.
that thing. But back on Last Ronin first issue. There's 71 variants of the cover,
Hmm. Yep.
and man, there's so many good ones. I think there's maybe a little more because I met a comic book artist at Supernova, and he's agreed to come on the podcast when he's not so busy.
Mhm.
Because he went straight to Perth Supernova, and he's doing
Oh
he
wow.
does comic book artist, teaching people how to draw and all this stuff. He's actually from Sydney. His name's Jamie Johnson. Um, yeah, we hit it off because we both had the same first name. We're both born in the same year, and maybe even the same hospital. I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, no, I grabbed a copy of his. He did one of the covers for it. It's really really amazing. He does great stuff. Not just Turtles. He does Batman, Phantom. Um, very cool artist.
Well, I think the reason that they had so many variant covers is because I think the interest came from everywhere. Like artists that have
Mhm.
wanted to, that have been fans and grown up on the old Ninja Turtle comics, just put their hand up and say, "Hey, I want to do a cover. I want to do a cover." And
Yeah.
why not? I mean, there are people out there that, I mean, if I had the money, I'd buy all 71
Oh
variants.
yeah.
But it's a very. There was my favorite one. I think mine and one of your favorite
Oh
ones.
yeah.
I thought, yeah, I'll jump on the website and I'll buy two copies, one for me, one for Jamie. And then when they said they were $1,000 each, I thought, well, I
Uh,
can't quite justify that.
I'm not that good of a friend.
No, exactly. But it was a badass cover.
Yeah.
It was it was really good. But yeah, I had a look when I was rereading this. In the back, there's the gallery of all
Yeah.
the variant covers, and they're just some of the artists have done DC Marvel for a very long time. A lot of
Yeah.
independents on Image and IDW have jumped in and done it too. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to flicker open now. What do you say we start talking about the story, the art,
Hmm.
the writers, the thing that our listeners probably want to know about, or maybe already do know about.
Definitely. Well,
Obviously, Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, but
mhm.
who's the other big wig writer? The one that we know.
The gentleman by the name of Tom Waltz.
Oh, now who is
He,
Tom Waltz?
oh, put me on the spot. Uh, let me Google. No, no,
No,
let me have a look. I have no idea. Me personally, I hadn't heard of him. He's probably done
really, no. He's
a
done
lot
the
of stuff
turtle.
I've read.
He's done the turtle run. Um,
Oh, okay.
I think he's been involved. Tom Waltz. Yeah, I'll click on him right now. We're gonna do live. Ooh, okay. Yes, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the IDW. Um, okay. He also did the TMNT Ghostbusters crossover,
Oh, yep, yep, yep.
which I cannot find anywhere. It's really hard to find now. Um,
Okay.
because yeah, Turtles do so many weird crossovers, and now they're doing Stranger Things. I'm like, how does that work?
Oh, there you go. So, oh, he wrote the story for Ninja Turtles: Mutants in Manhattan, the video game.
Yep.
So there you go. So he's obviously a Turtles alumni.
Yep.
So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to Turtles, and clearly, obviously, by reading this story, they definitely have a and obviously when you're working with him, it was probably a massive thing for him to working
Oh yeah.
along Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, sorry, as well. And I think he obviously knows his stuff as well.
Yeah. Um. All right. What do you say? I don't know if we want to go bit by bit and talk it as we flick through.
Yeah,
Um, obviously it's a dystopian future, and guys, spoilers, complete spoilers. Um,
yeah.
it's been out a year. Um, if
It's
you
been
haven't,
out for longer than a year, so
if your name is Chris Park, and you're listening for some strange reason, listen on because I know you don't care about spoilers and all that stuff. You know, um,
But yeah,
actually,
we will be talking spoilers. So if you haven't
yeah,
read it and you want to read it, pause it
yeah,
now, read it, and then come back and listen to the. We're
yeah,
only talking about the first issue in this episode,
yeah,
so we're gonna take the next five episodes are gonna be each issue.
yeah.
So
And
yeah,
if you guys think of a comic book that you want us to dive into, let us know. Obviously, probably not the Phantom because it's like still running, or, or we might do a little bit of it, or Usagi and Jimbo, if you know about the Samurai Rabbit that's had the same writer since its beginning. Um,
Mhm.
that's cool. I've always loved Usagi, but right now,
Yeah.
um, all right, first page we've got he's ready to cross the sludge polluted river and into Manhattan. Manhattan is a cordoned off island, but
Hmm.
he's talking because he's a turtle, obviously, but you don't know
Yep.
who he is. He's wielding all the weapons. And this is one of the things I love about this thing is he switches between these weapons like Kratos in God of War.
Yeah.
He switches them real.
Yeah.
You don't know who he is. You don't know. You don't know, and they throw a lot of red herrings at you. But he's obviously talking to his brothers. But you
Well,
don't
you don't really know that at this moment.
no.
You don't know. So what we know at the moment is, there's it's at least one to two other people that he's having the current Last Ronin is having
Yeah.
a chat to.
Yeah.
Now we don't know who or what whether there's someone with him or whether he's just having these conversations or who knows.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we just see him trudging through the mud. Obviously, on some sort of mission from looking
Yeah.
at the first page.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we really get, just a little bit of a background and,
Yeah.
just a little bit of conversation.
Yeah, and it lays into the fact that it's like it sets up the world beautifully, going, okay, look,
Yeah.
this sludge is not fit for humans. Could not swim in this,
Yeah.
like
Correct.
it's clearly the Hawkesbury River near where I live. No, no, that's a joke for the locals. That's a joke for the locals. Yeah, and I still see people fishing off that bridge, going like, you are not catching anything. You are not catching. You are not. I don't know what you're doing down there, Bogans, but nothing's happening. I love, and look, this is the first throw off I get is on one of the early pages. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm here to do this mission. I got to finish this. It's die. I got to do it or die trying. And he grips Raphael's sai, which is your first thinking, okay, it's Raph, and he's got the I'm gonna murder you kind of look on his face. And I flipping love it. Then we get brought into this wonderful dystopian future, and we get a clearly he's like, I'm not I don't know if he knew what to expect when he came into this, just jumped the wall back into Manhattan. But right there off the bat, we get someone getting called Jones. This girl called Jones. Now, what was your first thoughts to that, Ryan? Did you automatically go, Casey Jones's daughter?
Yeah.
You automatically.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I automatically thought, well, I mean, in the world of Ninja Turtles,
yeah,
someone calls the Jones.
yeah,
It's obviously some sort of relation,
yeah,
to Casey Jones.
yeah.
At this stage, we don't know. Like, we don't know what's happened. We don't know if it's April and Casey that have gotten together, or if it's just he's just been doing his thing, or we don't know anything more than what we can see. So, yeah. So, but yeah, honestly, if I hear the name Jones or O'Neill or something like that, I'm gonna assume
yeah,
it's them. Yeah.
100%.
And even the way she just, you see one page in this panel where she's like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like, I can get the Casey Jones vibes just from the way she looks. She's looks very steampunky. As apparently that's what all dystopian futures are going to look like. We're all going to look like we're steampunk people, and you get the feeling pretty much straight away that it is some sort of relative of Casey Jones.
Yeah, I love the way I mean, this is another. They're desperately trying to make you think it's Raphael. I reckon that because he's on the bike. He's like, I don't care. I'm gonna just throw the bike at drive the bike into this fuel tanker. And just like, all right, they know I'm here. Sets off a flipping sensor when he climbs out through the manhole, and then suddenly, these new characters come along. They're future. I think they call them Singes, like they're cyborg, not cyborg.
Well,
synthetic.
before we move on to that one, the page before that was the first time I was able to narrow out, saying that it's definitely not this person.
Yeah,
It's definitely not this turtle, and that was Donatello. Because if you look, one of the speech bubbles says, "Check out those cables. If we hack in, we might be able to download a map of this level." So I thought, okay, that's a very Donatello thing to say.
Yeah.
So, and that bubble was coming from not from the Last Ronin. So I thought, okay, I'm going to say it's probably not Donatello.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought that was a little bit of a okay.
Yeah,
All right, yeah. So
that's the
Donatello
first.
would be someone who'd say that.
Yeah. There's also a within a couple of pages, like there's a Star Wars, there's pop culture references. There's a Star Wars quote,
Yep.
the do or do not, and everyone knows what comes
Yeah.
after do or do not, you know, and then move over another couple of pages, and there's a reference to Snake Plissken. Now, if we all know,
Yeah. Yeah. I saw
Escape
that
from New
one.
York, Escape from New York, I'm going
Yeah.
like, come on, and where are they? It's
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
they're not turtles without pop culture references. And it feels like and it feels like us, like it feels like that's the joke for the kids at our age that grew up with the turtles. Those kind of movies were on
Yeah.
at those times. And obviously older you're going to be making jokes about things you've seen a long time ago.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I love this artwork and the sheer like anger. You can feel the anger on the page that this lone turtle that's not Donatello,
Yeah.
is on a mission, and he does not care about his own safety. Really, he's just like, I got to get this
Mhm.
done. Um, but yeah, these new, I think they're called Singers, like they're synthetic ninjas, so they're like humanoid,
Yeah.
robotic sort of thing, and he has no trouble with switching to a sword and chopping its head off. Like it's old school turtles, and I love it. Um, Yeah, he's doing some crack. I love the old school writing the words, which obviously came from
Yep.
Batman comics back in the day. Pow, poof, crack. Um, yeah, he's messed them. He messes them up. Sorry guys, I'm just flicking through the pages here, capturing it again for the first time, and the use of flying cars to get himself up higher.
Yeah.
Uh, they need to make a movie out of this or something, because it's perfect. Um, what did you think of the new Shredder, or should we say, or the Shredder's grandson?
Shredder's grandson and Kyrie's son.
Yeah,
Is that how you say it? Is it Kyrie?
Karai.
Karai. Okay,
Karai.
Karai.
Yeah,
Yeah, look, I'm looking at the artwork and you can tell it's a mixture of both of them.
yeah,
He's got to me, I looked at it, he's got the Shredder eyes,
yeah,
the evil intent and and then as we go through, it's like when he's talking to his general, he's like, well, you bring me his head or I'll have yours. And that's a
yeah,
very Shredder thing to say.
yeah,
Um, but then obviously you see, as we move on and we see, he's still got his mother in a cryogenically frozen
yeah,
capsule. He does have a bit of a softer side when it comes to his mother as well. So,
yeah,
yeah, I'm on board. I knew it was going to have some kind of connection. Obviously,
yeah,
he's the current leader of the Foot.
yeah,
Um, and then I like the use of the Ravens too. I like
yeah,
they've given him his own identity where
yeah,
kind of got a bit of a Raven King kind of feel
yeah,
to it. Yeah, I thought it was really
yeah,
well done.
yeah. Because I think it's he may even be a little more extreme than Shredder. I know that might be controversial for people, but like maybe he's just full of more rage than ever. Um,
Yeah,
because I remember in the IDW series, Shredder had a falcon. Like he just had one bird. Like
yeah,
here's my falcon, and later it gets mutated. To one of
yeah.
my favorite characters, Koya, I think it is. I'd love to see Koya in a live action film. Just saying. Um, but now he's got like all these ravens. He's just like
Hmm.
you feel the anger, and but also, I believe that you can sense some fear from him as well, as the lone turtle is getting closer and closer to him, and he's just like, send everyone, and he's like,
Mhm.
I don't. What's the quote? He says, um, something along the lines, of like, like, I'm the master. I don't I
Yeah.
don't get my hands dirty. Other people do my bidding. You know.
Mhm.
But he also says, admits to killing all the other turtles, because he's like, I thought they were dead. Like I thought I killed them all.
Yeah.
Um, and from any good revenge story, You better make sure you've actually killed someone, you know,
Oh yeah.
because the any and Baxter Stockman's in it, or references to Baxter Stockman. Um, in come the Stockman cyborgs, which he
Yep.
then gets thrown out the window, and you think, um, which I think is a great start to it all, because otherwise it would have been a really short comic, like the very first Ninja Turtles comic was it's like you got your mission, you go kill Shredder, the end, and then they're like, this is a really good comic, can we have more? And they're like, what? you know, um, yeah, because it's almost like a foreshadow of the first comic book, where it's like, I'm on this mission, I've you know come to seek revenge. That's exactly what Splinter trained them for in the first comic book.
Yeah.
I've trained you to have revenge on the Shredder. Um,
But I like how much of like we're looking into this future, but clearly the hold that Oracle Hiroto has on the over the city,
yeah,
because when you see the last Ronin land, he's just lying there and he's bleeding, and then along come these Sinjas or cyborg ninjas or whatever you call
yeah,
them. They're just like, by the orders of Master Oroku
yeah,
Hiroto, must disperse. You must disperse.
yeah,
So like it's a lot more of, they're not so much operating in the shadows like the old Foot used to do with Shredder.
yeah,
They're kind of out in public, and they're like, okay, everyone knows who he is and everyone
yeah,
fears him, and he's got that much more of a hold over the city than whereas the original
yeah,
comics, like, everyone knew who the Foot were, but it's not like they were in
yeah,
your face. You know what I mean?
yeah. And even the I love the attitude of female Jones. I'm going to guess
Yeah.
Jones's daughter. Like, you're living in this dystopian hellhole, tyrannical rule over you. Um, Never know if you step out of line, something bad could happen to you, or sort of thing. But she's still like, hey, he went that way, you know,
Yeah.
and like throws him off, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously follows the blood trail down the sewer.
Mhm.
Um, and that's when we get the nice reveal of uh, Shredder's grandson, and Karai, an older looking Karai, um, which is interesting. Like the obsession. He's got two obsessions.
Mhm.
Don't let my mother die. Kill
Yeah.
those blasted turtles. It's
Mhm.
it's two extremes, and I love it. And this is when it gets freaking brutal with the hey, let's have seppuku. I think this is one of the first times we have seppuku in in the turtle comic, and
Mhm.
it just goes
But I
from
like the way how he lays out all the weapons. So at the end, and the coloring and everything, like
yeah,
the eye mask is black.
yeah,
And so you don't know when he's laying out the broken sword from Leonardo, the one side, the one nunchuck, and the
yeah,
bow staff from Donatello.
yeah,
And then he's just there and he knows what he's gonna do, and he's just like, the last thing he's thinking of is, I miss my brothers.
yeah,
And he's like, I've failed and I've missed my father. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I've failed my mission. Forgive me. And then he's just about to commit seppuku,
yeah,
and female Jones pops up and goes, "Holy crap! What the hell?" Just kind of like reminiscent of the
yeah,
meeting of April with the
yeah,
turtles. You know what I mean? Like,
100%, yeah.
it kind of takes it all the way back to the start where
Um,
she's like, you're
yeah,
thinking that she's gonna faint, but then it's actually the last Ronin that faints.
yeah.
Um, and
I
then here we see, he goes back and while he's in a deep sleep,
yeah,
reminiscing of a better time, and
dreaming, yeah. Well, it's cool because you got the flat line, you know,
yeah.
but then the start up again, and it's just like, yeah, the throw off. Um, but I actually wonder if he gives up doing seppuku, because does it look like he gives, like, he says, no, I changed my mind. I
Yeah,
just
look, I think so. I think he does. I think, he realized that that was more of a heat of the moment thing.
Yeah.
He felt like he'd let everyone down, and he felt like there was no going back. He was never going to get that close again,
Yeah.
and he just probably thought that that was his only chance and his only shot, and he failed.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I'm just going to join my brothers and my father now because I
Hmm.
there's nothing left for me." And then he obviously sees female Jones and passes
Yeah.
out, and
And then she somehow
and
drags her back to
yeah.
a unknown room where older looking April, whose hair looks phenomenal. I'm just
I,
saying, like she looks older,
I
but
was just gonna say, it's a very. I'm getting Linda Hamilton vibes badly
yes, yeah,
off the way they've drawn April here. It
yeah.
looks very Linda Hamilton-esque.
Well, Linda Hamilton, if you're listening, if they do uh Last Ronin comic, yes, Linda Hamilton is April. I can see that.
Yep. And
Um,
if you don't know who Linda Hamilton is, go and do some bloody research because we're not
well,
going to tell you.
I'm surprised that you're listening to this kind of podcast without knowing
Yes,
who Linda Hamilton is. Did you hear
yes.
she's going to be in Stranger Things, the next season of Stranger Things?
Oh, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, she's doing a bit at the moment. She's obviously was in Resident Alien.
Yep.
And yeah, that's good for her. She needs to do something after that horrible, horrible Terminator movie that she was in, Dark Fate. So
Yeah.
she needs to redeem herself somehow.
100%. Well,
But,
do you want to
yeah.
do the honors? So that was the last page of this issue. Do you want to do the honors,
Yeah,
Ryan?
it looks like the biggest last page I've read in a comic for a very, very long time.
Um,
Um,
do you want
yeah, so
to
basically
let our people, that our listeners know, who already know at this stage, who who is the last Ronin?
the last Ronin is actually Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, no. Honestly, I didn't pick it. It's the wisecracking pizza eating Michelangelo is in
Yeah.
fact the sole survivor.
Mm,
He's won the title of sole survivor from Jeff Probst on the show Survivor, and he was given the $100,000, and he's managed to survive somehow. And this is a
yeah.
different version of Michelangelo. What we're seeing obviously a hardened
Yeah.
been living by himself for a very long time because there was no hint of Michelangelo in that whatsoever.
No, and that's the perfect throwaway because 100%.
Yeah.
When I said Last Ronin, my first thought was Raphael.
And I think that's where everyone kind of goes Raphael or Leonardo.
Yeah.
They go there because Raph was always a tough guy. He was the
Yeah.
hardened,
Yeah.
what you got to do to make it work. And Leonardo was a true strategist, the
Yeah.
leader. So I thought it's got
Yeah.
to be one of those two.
Yeah. But anyway,
And for it to be Michelangelo, it was
yeah.
complete
Yeah.
mind fuck. So
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. But yeah, like the more you read it, like I rule out Leonardo about halfway through because there was no real strategy in that attempt. That was
no,
pure rage. That was
no,
like,
yeah.
you killed my brothers, I am coming for you. And
Mhm.
he didn't think things through,
Yeah.
and he ended up falling out of a building, and um
Yeah.
which I think is the
No, I get that.
perfect start to this kind of arc.
Oh,
You're in
definitely.
over your head, even though you've trained for, I'm guessing, 40. I'm going to guess there was 40, 50 years old, maybe. Um,
Yep.
I'm guessing. I don't know if they've actually put a label on it or an age on them, but you've
Well,
been
we don't
training that
really
long.
know. We don't know what the turtle aging thing is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like
well,
you look at
yeah,
April. I think the really only thing you can go on is April.
yeah.
Um,
Well, April's a
because
mother.
I would
Yeah,
say yeah. So I'd say she looks like she's in her late 50s, early 60s.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm going to say that yeah, it's safe to say the turtles are probably around our age, maybe a little bit older.
yeah. But
Um, but yeah,
but
so
yeah,
that's what we know that Splinter's gone. We know
yeah,
that the Raphael, Donatello, and Leonardo are gone.
yeah,
We know that Casey Jones has a daughter. We know April's still alive, and we know the
yeah.
last Ronin is
Michael,
Michelangelo, and that's all we know at the moment. And we obviously
yeah,
know the villain of this story is Karai's son, Shredder's grandson.
yeah. Um,
Um, we know that the Stockman. We don't. Yeah, we know back to Stockman's
there's
tech
stock
is still
tech,
around.
but
Um,
the one thing I noticed, and I don't know if you picked up on it, there's no mutants other than
no,
Mikey. That's
at
interesting.
this stage in the book. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where
Episode
it goes from here.
issue 2. Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's good. I'm looking forward to rereading it again.
Hmm.
And I like what we're going to do, break it up into different episodes. It gives us time to sit down, read it, and what do you call, reflect on it. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think I've the first issue I've read many times. So I've read the first issue, I think in total now about 5 times.
yeah,
But in terms of the second issue, I've only read it once. So I'm looking forward to, and that was when it came out. So I'm looking forward to
yeah,
going back. And I didn't jump forward like normally I wanted to. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to, after I read the first one, I'm like, okay. I purposefully left rereading it till half an hour before we started recording because I knew
yeah,
that I would want to just keep going and keep going and keep
yeah,
going.
yeah,
And I knew I was going to bed straight after we finished recording this because I'm
yeah,
doing Uber in the morning. So
yeah,
I thought that's a good way to do it. I'm going to read it a half an hour before we record
yeah. It's
because
fresh
then
in
I
your mind.
won't go, oh, I'm just going to read issue 2. I'm just going to read issue 3 because I want to get that.
Yeah,
That's what I loved about when we did the Resident Alien rewatch. Like I'd seen a couple of episodes in season 1,
yeah,
but by watching it every week, I was able to give a fresh perspective and like as someone who just watched it.
yeah,
And I think that's why as much as I want, I think I'm going to go back and start reading the IDW series again
yeah,
to get my turtle fix. But
yeah,
I don't want to read read more until
yeah.
next week when we record again.
Well, as of recording this, I got an email saying that they sent issue 4 of Lost Years. So that's a really
Oh,
cool.
cool.
I think it's kind of treated like almost like a prequel.
Yep.
I mean, it's a continuation, but it's prequel at the same time. Like so you get flashbacks of
You think isn't it? It's flashbacks, but it's still after. Is it still?
yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
I
It's
I
still
think
after
it's
the death of the original turtles, isn't it?
yeah. So from
Yeah.
memory, I think the way to explain it best is it's like Arrow, the TV show Arrow. You've got two timelines happening at once. So I think you've
Yeah.
got directly after Last Ronin series, and then you
Yep.
have flashbacks to before,
Into
but still when he's
yeah.
Mikey's older, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, no, it's really cool. It's really interesting, and I'm hoping it's not a short series because man, I need my turtle fix.
Have they said if it's a limited series or if it's ongoing?
Honestly, I haven't looked into it. You know, I'm afraid to.
All
I'm
right.
afraid to.
All right, I'm gonna do it for you right now.
Oh, oh, he's doing it.
The the last Ronin
Lost years.
lost. Yeah. I'm looking.
It doesn't say.
Nothing clarif limited series. Let's have a look. No, you know what? It's not. I can't find anywhere where it's saying that it's a limited series,
Wow.
and that's just going off a couple of reputable sites. So yeah, look, it could
Yeah,
be a new
awesome.
ongoing, which is always good.
Well, listeners, if you know information that we don't know, because we don't know everything, send us
No, not at all.
send us an email to thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com or reach out on stories_podcast. But
Yeah,
yeah, look,
definitely.
let us know your feedback. Look, we're not new to doing rewatches and stuff like that. Like but we're new to this new comic book style episodes, and we hope you enjoy them. We
Mhm.
hope that you interact with us. Give us some topics. I actually think that when I get Jamie Johnson to come on and talk comics and art and stuff like that, I might put it under this segment instead of like a story chat kind of episode. Because
Yeah, I think that's
you
pretty
know,
good. And I'm working on what we're gonna do next. When you messaged me this morning, I was out driving and I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think
mm,
of arcs that are not like 15 to 20 issues
yeah,
long because that's
yeah,
all I was coming to my mind. I think I
yeah,
found one,
yeah.
but I'm gonna
That's
just
all right.
do a
And
bit of research into it first.
and look, we don't have to do entire series or that. Like, so you could do these are
Yeah,
my favorite issues.
yeah.
Anything that the door's open. It just has to be comic themed. That's that sort of thing,
Mhm.
and it has to
I've
be
got a good idea on an arc, which I think is only about 5 issues. So I'm gonna keep on
cool.
to. I'll keep doing a bit of research. I'll reread
Yep,
it myself and work it
cool.
out.
And obviously, we take suggestions, and but I'll just say this, Ryan. Let us know in advance what we're going to do, because I want to buy a hard copy, because that's the kind of man I am.
Oh, okay. All right. No, well, you know what? You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? This is one that I'm pretty sure I have a hard copy of, so I would be able to lend it to you.
Okay, cool.
And I can read it digitally. So it's
All
just the one. I'm thinking, just a little teaser. I'm thinking about doing the Court of the Owls.
All right.
Batman.
Batman, yes.
Actually really good.
Well,
It's split into 2 arcs, but the first arc is the introduction, and I think it's only 6 issues. So
you know
that
what?
might be a
Yes,
good one.
because also, yes, this can be a podcast about reading and sharing our thoughts and favorite story arcs and all that stuff. But it also can be Ryan educating Jamie, because I don't think I've read any Batman comics. I really don't.
Well, to be honest with you, it wasn't my favorite, but this was probably one of my favorite runs. With the writer Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo with the New 52, they introduced this, and this was their creation. This is something that hadn't been done in a very long time, and it's actually played out into TV shows, into a video game. Like even though the video game wasn't great, Gotham Knights, they were the main antagonist. And it still reverberates into current issues now, and we're like almost 10 years on from the New 52. So and Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo came up with this really good concept. So I think that might be a good place to start. And
cool.
as I said, I've got the hardcover that I can lend you, so that's not a problem.
Awesome. Well, I think this is a good place to end it. As always, guys, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com if you want to reach out. Stories_podcast. We're pretty active there. While I think of it,
yep.
Our episode that we recorded with Technically a Conversation is the first part's up. The second part is about to come out. I think Jose, our good friend Jose, did a better editing job than I did. But it's great over there. If you can listen to it with us, it's almost 2 hours unedited kind of thing. But he's trimmed it up nice and neatly, just 2 parts, which might be easier if you don't have a spare, 2 hours. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. And as always,
thank you.
We'll catch you next time.
See you next time.